Hi, Allison Ziggy here, and you are joining me live for this week's episode of Princess Uninterrupted, the podcast, Life on the Other Side of the Quantum Leap. Wow, I feel like I have been waiting to make this episode for years, not in terms of it being a topic that I knew I wanted to talk about, but in terms of being able to make an episode from what felt like the other side. In the episode that I recorded before this, I shared about some of the behind the scenes of the challenges that I had faced when starting my business and just what it felt like when it looks like things aren't working and when it looks like you've made a mistake, when it looks like it wasn't safe to trust yourself. And I really want to deliver the message this week of what it actually honestly feels like when you are on the other side, because it might surprise you how similar it really feels. Like, it's so crazy. I'm recording this on the other side of it was called calendar hacking originally, but I realized that sending out emails with the word hacking in them was a really good way to get a low open rate. So I've decided to rename it to quantum calendar. But through the process of recording, sharing, releasing that work into the world, it really helped me anchor in this final piece of understanding of manifestation that just catapulted everything. I got more signups for that masterclass in like an hour than I had gotten for some previous masterclasses. The process of putting your heart and soul out there and creating a business, it's a lot of trial and error, and it's a lot of refining and really just gaining clarity. The one thing that I've learned the most that I hope you listening to this episode can really take away is that the desire itself should be celebrated. I wish I would have realized this like sooner in my quantum leap journey, where the fact that I had the desire to create this means that it was meant for me. But number two, for a long time early in my journey, I spent a long time like doubting the desire or questioning the desire or feeling like there was something wrong with me for wanting the things that I wanted. And so it finally shifted when I really released this attachment to the desire. It was okay to have it, but it also was okay that it wasn't here yet. And I had trouble existing in that space for even practical reasons. It doesn't necessarily feel good to lose everything and go through feeling like you can't support yourself. But everything started shifting once I just started meeting life where it was at and I just started embracing it. And instead of seeing the reality I wanted as some far off fantasy, I just started fully appreciating and falling in love with life exactly as it was. Even in the challenges, even in the moments where everything was seemingly going wrong, loving who I was, even how I showed up through those challenges. And once I started doing that, and once I just started honestly opening myself up to being like, okay, if I have to do something else while I build, that doesn't mean that I failed. And just finding creative solutions so that I could make micro changes in my life that felt like I was supporting myself and felt like I was successful and felt like I was able to create a bridge. And so what's wild is that this didn't even need to happen for a super long time. I think in my mind, I viewed getting a job or doing something on the side as I was building my business as like a moral failure. Like, I should be able to make this happen. But it wasn't until I really took that pressure off of myself where I was like, you know what? I don't want this to be like, I can't eat if I don't show up and do this properly. So I had to take that pressure off of myself, and I had to really love myself enough to be like, let's try something else. When I finally took that pressure off, everything just flowed through. Because I think what really the point of this and saying like the other side of the quantum leap is you feel it before it's here. Reality takes time to catch up to your new belief system. But the craziest part about the quantum leap is that you will feel it before it is here. I was at the gym and I was just like, I did it. I felt it. Like, I felt the success of the mission. And even when I talked to my daddy before I had all the signups, I was like, I did it. It worked. I know what I'm doing. I understand how this works. I understand how to do this. And it was like, I felt that success. And I booked a client. But I don't want this to just be like okay, I made the shifts and then all these external things came in. The craziest part about the quantum leap is like you feel the feelings before they're here. And then when the things show up, it's almost just like, well, yeah, that makes sense. It's so normal. I used to do visualizations of like how things would feel when they were here, how I would feel if I had all the signups, all the clients, all the things. And it felt like I was very out of my body. Even though I was doing visualizations and feeling it in my body, feeling the feelings now, what I thought I would feel was pretty different compared to what I actually felt. And what I actually felt more similar to how it felt when I manifested things in the past. I'll never forget, I was about to move to New York City. I was in between jobs. I had quit one corporate job and I was about to start my next corporate job. And I was nervous about the timing of which I quit because there was a check that had yet to come in. I was really nervous that I wasn't going to get this big check that was funding my move to New York. And it came in. I was unsuspecting of the timing and I looked and it was there. And it was honestly more money than I had ever received in one paycheck. And I was just like, I did it. It was this sense of just being brought to my knees in gratitude, just being so grateful and so like, it was safe to trust myself. It was safe to trust myself. It was safe to take those scary actions. It was safe to just keep believing even when it didn't look like I should. It felt so much more similar to that than I felt. And I had this song that I anchored in, like, this is your song when you're celebrating business things. And I put it on today and it was like, my vibration in relationship to what I was manifesting was so much more chill than what I had mentally visualized it as. I had visualized it as like this big thing, but it was like crazy because the energy externally felt like that. Like I did feel a little bit dysregulated. I was really excited and I was like anchoring it in, but I also felt so grounded and just the overwhelming vibration was just gratitude and was just gratitude towards myself. Gratitude towards this work, gratitude towards my clients, gratitude towards all of it. I was just able to see this big picture perspective of how it was all divinely related and how it was all perfect and how it couldn't have happened any other way. I was always trying to rush the timeline, and I had this big realization today, actually, when I was making content on TikTok. It really came to me how to articulate this, where your manifestations might be 90% of the way here, but they can be 90% of the way here for a really long time. A lot of times we aren't receiving the things that we're desiring, and we think that it means that we need to change everything. We're doing everything wrong. Oh my gosh, I used to judge myself so much and be like, this must be bad. This must be wrong. Tell me what to do. Tell me what to say. Like not trusting that I was doing everything right. And what needed to be shifted was simply an internal perspective. It was simply choosing to view myself as capable, worthy, successful. Like all of the things that I would believe to be true about myself had the desires come in. And once I made that shift internally and I was like, I'm not going to view the external shortcomings as proof of what I want not being possible or proof that I'm doing it wrong. And instead, I'm going to just trust the way that I'm feeling inside. And I'm going to let that be my North Star. I'm going to let that be my guidance. I'm going to let that be the manifestation. It really shifted. It's less about taking action so that things happen, and it's more about taking the action itself. I personally feel like what's really helped me with this is creating on TikTok because I'm able to see how much it helps people in real time. I've started to get comments on my work where it's like, I needed this exact message at this exact time. And that's what keeps me going. When I was living in lack and I was like not even able to support myself, it was like I was creating to change my circumstances. I was creating to deny my reality, and the vibration of that's very different than just creating to serve. And I've heard that so many times, to make service the center of everything that you do, to make your message and your words and like to trust what's on your heart enough. I wasn't able to do that before because I was living in so much uncertainty. And one of my favorite quotes or perspectives, money doesn't come from this external source. It's like a vibration that you align to, first and foremost. But it's also like, I'm the source. God is the source. Universe is the source. It's a frequency that you align to. And I think for a long time, I had this very black and white thinking perspective of like corporate tech, Ziggy, and I don't want this. It has to come this way. And then I started to open myself up like, okay, I really like watching cats. What if like cat sitting starts to supplement? Or what if like I start doing these fun little things for my brand? And what if I focus more on the planners? What if I do party planning? I started to do all these other things, and then it was like, wait, I wanna participate. Because there's no pressure. There was no like, I need you to perform so that this can work. It felt cleaner. And I'm really grateful that things unfolded in the way that they did. Otherwise, I could have reinforced new limiting beliefs and not even known that's what they were. Sometimes not getting what you want in the way that you thought that you wanted it ends up being the greatest gift, because it allows you to shift your perspective before what you're desiring comes in. I would have just stayed stuck in that cycle, and now I feel so lit up by possibility. And there was this moment where I realized I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing. And I read a quote by Sarah Blakely where she's basically talking about, when you're starting a business, stay at your job until your business pays all your bills. And I was just thinking about how I couldn't have stayed in corporate tech and built what I've built, because it just wasn't what I wanted to do anymore. And when you feel that way and you're exchanging your time for money in a way that feels unaligned, you end up spending it because you have this dissatisfaction within yourself. Even though these past few months, past year really, has been challenging on a financial level, it's completely reset my relationship to money. And at no point was I like, I don't want to do this anymore. This was always what I wanted to do. At some points of time, I felt like I wasn't able to do it and I should just give up because it wasn't working. But that was never actually the case. That was never actually true. So I just want to offer to anybody who might be experiencing this, because I had a really hard time bridging this gap. I had a really hard time figuring out, if I'm not in corporate and I'm not able to make the money in my business through corporate the same way, like, what do I need to do? And I just want to offer that the shift didn't come from tactically what to do. It's not that. It's basically changing the way you see yourself and opening yourself up to avenues and possibilities. For me, that started with opening up to other solutions. I knew that it wasn't going back into an office environment or something corporate, but it was also loving myself enough to know that I deserved better and to know that there were solutions. The thing is, like, with a service-based business like this, you also want the energy to be clean. You don't want it to be like, I need this so that I can survive. That's not the role of what a coach, mentor is here to do. You're here to help people guide through their transformation. And before, the way that I was trying to do it, the energy just didn't feel clean. And there's nothing wrong with me for having done that. That was a lesson that I learned, that I hope that if you're listening to this and you're really wanting to do this for yourself and grow in the way that you show up in the world and really be self-expressed and bring your art into the world and do these things, the first step is to really understand that if it's not working, it's not because it's not good enough. That's the worst belief that you can have. It's never that it's not good enough, because it's likely being brought to you for a reason. We all want different things for different reasons. And the fact that you want it means that there's something behind it for you. But know that if it's not working, it just means there's an energetic thing that needs to switch. It all shifted when I finally reclaimed my power back and was like, I'm going to do this my way. I'm going to do this in a way that feels true for me. I'm going to take honest action. I've been doing some like brand activations, and I'm not going to do anything that feels unaligned through this. I think that there's so much to be said about taking aligned action through the process of unlocking your quantum leap. That's really important as well, because like life on the other side of the quantum leap doesn't feel that different. It feels the same. I just have more resources. It feels like I have more choice. I'm very grateful for it. I'm not saying I want to go back to not feeling that way, but I don't view myself differently because I'm on the other side of it, because I was already viewing myself as if I had those things. It feels like confirmation of what I already knew on the inside. And that's the power of a quantum leap. That's exactly how you do it. And this is a continual refinement. So it is like, not like I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm done, I'm retired, like I'm gonna stop now. It was like, no, if anything, more proof to keep putting the pedal on the gas, like putting gas. Is that how you say it? Like keep putting like your foot on the gas. Pedal on the gas. Yeah, keep putting your foot on the gas. Keep going. Definitely trust it. But it didn't change anything super internally. If anything, I think this entire process of not manifesting what I wanted has more so changed me than the receiving of what I wanted. I'm grateful that I went through what I did because of who it's turned me into, who it's allowed me to rise into, and who I am now. And that I am able to show up the way that I do, and that I am able to give from a more selfless place without expectations, where I just want to give because I know that this message is important, and I know that there's people who need to hear this, and that there's people who will struggle with the same things that I struggled with, and that my perspective can help shape their journey and help make it easier. And I wish I would have had the ability to recognize this earlier, but even today, I was listening to that same Justin Bieber song that I mentioned in the last episode, Hallelujah Everything, and I recorded myself because I was just sitting in gratitude, and I was brought to tears, and I was grateful for the struggles and the challenges that I faced because of the perspective that it gave me in this moment. And I could just tell energetically, I knew it was part of my soul's curriculum. It's the only way I know how to describe it to you, where I was like, my soul needed that lesson. I needed that, not just reality check, but I needed to understand what that felt like. I needed to feel that so that I could show up in the world differently. I could have never learned that through somebody else talking about it. I could have never learned that if I didn't experience it personally. And I think there's different levels of lessons available to us. Like, we can choose how we receive the lessons. I do think there's more grace in how you can receive them, but being on the other side now, where I'm like, okay, I'm living here for the next 3 months. I have some really exciting things for the brand. I'm experiencing manifestations occurring in the brand that I've been manifesting for years that are finally here. And I do feel like this version of me is different than the version who was originally manifesting them, because I had the desires on such a pedestal. I thought that not just that I would be super different when I experienced these things, but it felt so out of reach that it was hard for me to imagine manifesting from this perspective. Like manifesting like when I did start to just get everything in. The only other way I can describe it is it just felt like everything finally clicked. That's the other thing I really wanted to touch on with this quantum leap, is it wasn't about taking different tactical steps per se. There were elements of that. There were certain things, but it was also being willing to not look at the things I was doing wrong as like a personal attack on myself or being bad or like a moral failing, but being receptive to understanding how I could do certain things better and why certain things worked the way that they worked and why there were certain processes in place that I had just been blatantly ignoring. But once I changed my vibration and I was no longer interpreting like, I'm not good enough, I'm bad, I'm wrong, I can't do this, and I started to instead interpret it as if that wasn't the problem. The problem was that there was something that could be done better. I started to open myself up and I was able to receive information in a different way. I was able to access tools that I had always had, but I was able to see them through a new light and actually receive the information. This is why everything's a frequency. This is why it's not about the actions themselves. even talking about TikTok again, where when I was talking about the dating content, it wasn't even like the dating content was bad. Like the content itself was really good. It's just as good as my manifestation content. My manifestation content that I make now, you could apply all of it to dating. But the energetic frequency of the message was what was different. It wasn't even about like the delivery, like you could pick apart like certain things like this was bad, this was good. And I think that was what used to drive me crazy is I was like looking for evidence of why things weren't working instead of looking for ways that they could work. Do you know what I mean? I was trying to like get to the root of the problem of like why something wasn't working instead of being like, okay, like what is there a better way to do this? And that was like the difference is it's like when you're willing to see, like, accept first and foremost, like you have the power to make your desires reality. Like, it's not that you're bad. It's not that you're wrong. It's not that you can't do that. It's not that you're not good enough. If you have the desire, you have the capacity. So starting from that place, taking action from that place, and then if it's something's like not working or not getting the results that you want, understanding that there's probably a disconnect between the way that you're seeing yourself and the actualization of that. So I would just finally offer, like if I just really had to summarize this for you, like if you feel like you've been stuck and you've been trying to do the same things and things aren't coming in and it's like not working, get clear on what it would feel like if it was working and what you would be telling yourself about yourself if it was working. And then assume that identity. This is like a cliff notes kind of my calendar hacking masterclass called Quantum Calendar now because of but that even like that's even an example for you. Like my open rate was really low for the email, and in the past I would have been like, people are getting annoyed by my emails, like nobody's interested in this. And that wasn't it at all. It was because the word was getting filtered out into people's spam. But I was only able to view it that way because of the way that I view myself. So I had to upgrade that in order to have access to that realization. And mind you, this is a masterclass that I've hosted in the past. This is like calendar hacking 3.0. But then I was able to understand like, oh my gosh, this is why this was this way, instead of just being like, I can't do this, nothing I do ever works, trying to prove that it wasn't going to work. So definitely instantly download that. It's going to be available through 11/11. So I'm going to include a link. Right now it's in the Ziggy printable library. I want to come up with a cute name for the printable library. And then if I'm just giving you like a final last minute, like behind the scenes of something that's coming new, I have some pretty exciting things for the planners. I also have like an event coming up in Philly, and I have some planner things that are happening. Definitely keep an eye out if you're a fan of the planners. Definitely check out the Quantum Calendar Masterclass. I do have a special promotion for the next 2 clients who sign on by 11/11. So there's details for that when you access Quantum Calendar, but there is also going to be details where you book the alignment call, which I'll include in the show notes. So thank you so much to everybody who's listening. I hope that this really helps you on your journey. I really tried to just share what I wish someone would have told me. This would have been the missing perspective for me the entire time. So I hope that this genuinely unlocks something for you. If it did, you're going to want to download Quantum Calendar just because it's going to provide you with the exact blueprint for how you need to show up every day between now and the end of the year to actually bring your manifestations to you in the present. Because again, it can be 90% here, but it can be 90% here for a really long time. So if you want to close that gap and actually make things happen, definitely check that out. I would love to absolutely support you with that. Thanks for listening to Princess Uninterrupted. Make sure to like, subscribe, all the things, and I'll see you again next week for another episode. Bye.